Augustine explains it like this. He says there's two churches. There is the visible church and there's the invisible church. The visible church are the people that sit in the pews and seats on Sunday that have physical memberships of the church. That's the visible church. Well, the indivisible church, or the invisible church, is the ones that are the redeemed, but we don't see who truly they are. Paul's saying just because you have a church membership, just because you sit in the seats, just because you've gone to the luncheon, just because you've done those things, does not mean you are a true Christ follower. He's letting them know that those things are not what give you and make you a saved person. They had thought, because they were born Jewish, that their ticket to heaven was punched because they were born of Abraham's offspring. And Paul is offsetting in his repeated fashion. He's going to say, no. Election is not nationalistic, it's individualistic. And he's going to lay out the case for you and for me right now. He's going to give two examples to let us know it is of individual and not of nationalistic. Let's keep going. And here's what he's going to say. The promise. This goes back to the promise. Okay? He even did this, listen, he even thought the religious Jews, this is back in John 8, the religious Pharisees who were opposing Jesus, they came up to him and they said, hey, Jesus, our father was Abraham. We are of the promise. And Jesus' very polite response was, you were descended from Abraham, but your father is the devil. That's what he told them. All right, these are religious Jews, right, who'd been born in ethnicity and thought they were of the promise. He says, your father's the devil. It's not Abraham. Just because you were born his offspring does not mean you are the children of God. Now, here's how we can play that out for just a second. Just because we're born into something doesn't mean that we have true salvation. Just because your family are Christians, your granny brought you to church, your dad is a pastor. Man, I tell my kids every day, don't trust in your father being a pastor for salvation. You trust in Christ and Christ alone. Are there benefits? Absolutely. We need to praise and teach up and raise up our kids to know Jesus Christ. When we get into this doctrine of election, sometimes I process with people outside. They're like, I get this, but what about my kids? What about my children? What are you saying about my own children? Do they not have the opportunity? Listen, as I've wrestled with things as a father, like many of you, here's what I know. God is sovereign over salvation. I can never, ever make my kids believe because it requires a heart transformation, and I can't do it. I've tried, and I failed. So what I do is this. I know God tells me to train up my kids to love the Lord. I know that absolute. It's not, okay, he's going to figure out who's going to save and figure out who he's not. It's not up to me. No, I don't do that. That would be negligent. I get in. I say, this is Jesus. Know Jesus. Study Jesus. And then you have to cry out to Jesus, save me, because my dad can't do it. And I get on my knees every day as a father, and I did this early on with my kids. I get on my knees and I pray to God, God, save him. Save him, save him, save him, save him. And I trust that he's going to do that.